What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. You know, I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Make your next thing a big one. Today on the program, Haven Caylor-Brown. Who's Haven Caylor-Brown, you ask? Tra-la-la? Well, you're going to find out in the next few minutes. So stick around. Don't you go anywhere. This week's shows, I have one public show. On Thursday night, I'll be at the Cedar Lounge Bar and Grill from 6 p.m. until 10. Why am I going to be there? For the video dance party karaoke jam. Yeah, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. You come and sing. I'm just pressing buttons. You ask me what song you want to sing, and I'll play it for you. The microphone is set up there. The stage is yours. We have a good time on the party patio. That's my newest public show that I've been doing on the weekly Thursday nights at the Cedar Lounge Bar and Grill, Morrilton, Arkansas, 6 to 10. Now, Friday night, my usual Friday night gig, I will not be at the RAB. The RAB is closed down. This will be the second week that they're closed down. If you want, you can look at the RAB's Facebook page, RAB in Conway, Arkansas, and find out what's going on there. They've assured me that this will be the last Friday that they will be closed. So next Friday, I will be back there. My usual Friday night gig, the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. Video dance party, karaoke jam. So not this Friday. Wah, wah. And then Saturday, I have a wedding. The only reason I mention that is because I love weddings. I'm so excited about being there. Weddings are back, baby. But unless you're invited, you cannot come. All right. I think that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Haven Caylor-Brown. Yeah, I got Haven Caylor-Brown on the Skype. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version. The video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/Keys Dan. Or if you look up Keys Dan on YouTube, you'll find my 3 different YouTube pages. It's the one with the Radio What logo on there. Yeah, you'll see Haven Caylor-Brown right next to me. All right, let's get into it with him. Skyping Haven Caylor-Brown now. Oh, look how pretty he is. He's a handsome man. It's Haven Caylor-Brown.
That's right.
It's Keys Dan. How are you? Man, you know, as I was, I hardly ever do any research when I do these things. I like to go into them fresh, make it a getting to know you kind of a thing, an interview, a first date, if you will. Just try to figure things out. But I couldn't help myself. You are so many things, man. There are so many facets of you. I can't nail down one thing. And I know that people are nuanced. They're not just one thing. You're not, any one thing. But you have many different facets, and you have them out there. For example, I thought I had a lot of Twitters. You have at least 3 Twitters out there for the different facets of you. I know I have one for my karaoke, one for my DJ, one for my radio, and one for my podcasts. So, Haven Caylor-Brown, give the people an idea of who you are.
I think that's why, because of my work. And you're right. One is for my educational purpose. I have a doctorate in education. I have a doctorate in leadership. That is not what I do, though. I'm 30 years teaching Spanish. I have the other Twitter is very political. and which I do not wish to discuss this evening, but it is very political. And the other one is kind of that I tried working with. I had a Periscope about 3 years ago that I was trying to work with, and it used up too much data, and I spent too much time on it as well. So that was kind of my porch parenting. That was to coincide with my parenting. I have a blog that's called havensideals.com. And the other way to get it is parentingwithpride.net. It's both the same site, but I prefer Haven's Ideals.
Yeah, I found a lot of those things just looking up your name, which is a very, it's a unique name. So really, Haven Caylor-Brown with the hyphen. If you look that up, if you Google it, and I'm sure you like to be Googled, you could find all that stuff. And yeah, I did find that Twitter that was very politically charged, and I was kind of excited because I thought maybe you had some ideas about what's going on today. Me, I'm just down the center. A little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. I figure most people are right here down the center, the middle of the road. And I figure, people in Texas say, hey, the only thing down the middle of the road are armadillos and yellow lines and dead armadillos. That's what I've heard. But
that's good. All right, Keith, I do want to say one thing.
Please.
Because I have spent a lot of time in 3 different countries. Of course, here in the United States, born and raised here. I lived in Mexico in 1994. I wanted to do an occupational missions, and I was teaching English at a business prep. It was the equivalent of a high school. It was a preparatory school for business tracked students. And so I've had a lot of Mexican friends. And I've spent a lot of time. I went to school in my younger days. I went to the University of Madrid in Spain. And one thing you need, one last place, which we have fallen in love, my family and I have fallen in love with the country of Poland. Each one of those places love their country. And I do want to say that as far as being a United Stateser, a person who is a citizen of the United States, and my ancestors, not only do I have Cherokee, my great-great-great-grandfather was Cherokee. He lived in North Georgia near Dalton. I have Native American. I have European American, and I'm proud of all of that. But first and foremost, I'm an American. I'm a U.S. citizen, and it's America first, and that's all I have to say about my political views.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Me, I'm many, many different things myself. I'm half Cuban, half Irish, and half Italian. That's 3 halves. I know I'm a big dude. I'm a big guy. Yeah, puedo hablar español si quieres. Necesito practicar mi español.
Hay clientes, personas quien ven quien hablan español.
Yeah, I'm from Miami, so you have to know Spanish.
So you have a lot of followers. Entonces, quien pues miran y escuchan al sitio de están. ¿Sí?
Yeah. If they don't, hey, by the way, if you don't know Spanish, learn. There was an old Pablo Rodriguez. He was a comedian, and I guess maybe he still does comedy. But one of my favorite comedy bits that he did was he said, "Hey, I'm in America. I know who and what I am. Right. Our forefathers discovered this country, learned the language, Spanish, because those are the first people that came here."
I will look that up. I'm going to write Pablo Rodriguez. I will be looking at.
Yeah, he's Paul Rodriguez, I guess, is what he goes by when he does his English routine. But I think he does routines in Spanish as well. You could find him all over YouTube, and he's pretty famous. I know he's had TV shows and movies and such. But going back to you, Haven Caylor-Brown, man, there's so much more. You're an educator. You've been teaching Spanish, so you not only talk the talk, you walk the walk. You've been teaching little kids all the way up to graduates. What's your area of expertise?
The little kids that I actually got I had the honor. I'm an older parent. We have children. My husband and I have children through surrogacy, and they are 6 days apart. So that was my first opportunity. I was 42. This was 2008, and I got to be a stay-at-home dad and be a preschool teacher, and which is phenomenal. That's the funnest I've ever had teaching. You can find that on my havensideals.com. We have a lot of preschool ideas that on there. That I taught. I taught using ABCs, A through Z, and we had a topic using multiple intelligences with each one of those letters.
That is excellent.
Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. I have written 2 books, and and my children, Carter and Ammon, you'll see them on Haven's Ideals. Carter and Ammon helped me write Christmas Hawk about. The Genesis was about 6 years ago, but I had it printed. I had it written and printed. It's self-publishing. I wish a major traditional publisher would pick it up at some point, but we wrote this together, Christmas Hawk.
Yeah, but why would you want a publisher to take half of your money? You self-publish, you put it out there on Amazon. Okay, yes, a publisher might help you move 100,000 units, but then they'll keep 90% of the money, I suspect. When you can move 10,000 units, you keep 10,000%,
Okay. Yes, keys down. With the publishers that did this, I was very new. I would probably choose another publisher. You'll have to buy. I'm not going to mention who they are, but once you study who this is, I get very little anyway. So yes, I'm sure if you found the right self-publishing, you could make lots of money, but we haven't so far.
Well, I hope that changes pretty soon, because that's another. What's that?
My other book.
Yeah, I saw that. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Parenting Strategies on the Go, and it's research based. I did research, being a doctor of education. I did some research because what Sean is my husband. What we would do is Ammon and Carter have traveled since they were 9 months old, and actually when they were born, because they were born in California, and we had to travel back here to Tennessee. So before they were born, we had to plan. We had to have strategies to get these babies home from California to Tennessee. Well, when we started traveling everywhere from Alaska at 9 months old until this doesn't include last summer, but this ends like in 2014 when we were our last big nice trip to New York City. All sorts of strategies to keep learning, to keep your children engaged and want to learn and think and learn for themselves. The Montessori method, if you will, Gardner's multiple intelligence, as you travel with your family and your children.
Man, and that's what we need to be doing. At a certain age, we need to be teaching what we know. And that's what you're doing by writing these books and putting it out there to the world. Montessori. Now, that's something that I've grown up knowing a little bit about. Did when you alluded to it, when you were just talking about it, do you teach yourself?
Do I teach myself?
No. What is Montessori? What is that method of teaching?
Yes, you have that desire, and that's another thing about me. Well, and I'll try to get back to Montessori. It's been such a long. One of my doctoral classes that I took. My goodness, it's probably been like almost 20 years ago now. One of my first doctoral classes was with the Montessori method, and that is it. You're the major learner. It's up to you to learn, and it's up to you to be in an environment. You put yourself in an environment that even if you're put there, you have the curiosities. You look at an object. Like when the Genesis, when we did Christmas Hawk, we were in school. We were doing our stuff at the kitchen table, and I said, let's go out to our field. Let's do our science walk. Uh-huh. And this was like the first week of December, like 2013, and we're looking at the beautiful December sky and the fluffy clouds and that's the few little things that are still green, the evergreens that are still green and all winter, and the deciduous trees that had lost their leaves. And we look around. There's hawk flying. What do you think about hawk? What could she? Well, let's make a story about hawk, and that was the genesis of Christmas Hawk. And then as we made a unit around Christmas Hawk after I wrote the book, it was how many eggs can they lay? There's the female. Who's bigger, the male or the female? We found out that the female was. We went to Rock City, which is here in Chattanooga. It's actually in Georgia.
Okay.
Lookout Mountain, Georgia. And it's just on the edge of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And they have a Birds of Prey raptor show that they do. And we got to hold Cody, the red-tailed hawk, who would be the male counterpart to my female hawk in the book. And it was a chain of events, and that wanting to learn one thing building on another. That kind of if there's a real Montessori expert out there listening to me, they go, that's not it, Haven Caylor-Brown, but that's the gist of it. Yes.
No, that's your experience with it, and it sounds like that hawk inspired you. A children's book. I think the most popular children's books are based on animals that are anthropomorphic animals. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of reading the Christmas Hawk, and you've already said it's a female hawk. Is it anthropomorphic? Does it talk, or what's the gist of the story?
She doesn't talk to Carter and Ammon, but she does talk to Santa Claus.
That's great.
She is summoned. What he does is he's so busy. Santa Claus is so busy. He calls on raptors from around the world because they have such keen vision. He calls on these raptors from around the world to help him. And so her area of the world is like from the Mississippi River over to the Smoky Mountains. And so we're in Tennessee, East Tennessee, close to the Smoky Mountains. So we're in her area of the world, and she just lives right outside in a tall white oak tree right outside Ammon and Carter's house.
Oh my goodness. And how jazzed are they that they got into a book? Your twins are in a book forever and ever.
Well, they were at the time. They're grown up. They're 12 years old now. They just turned 12. But at the time, we had the Barnes and Noble here in Chattanooga. We had a book signing for Christmas, and so they were just 7. So their writing skills were a little. They had been practicing. They didn't have that fine motor skills to do that, to sign a bunch of books.
Yeah.
So had them, they signed their own names at a local Office Depot. We had stamps made for them so they could stamp the book during the book signing instead of doing it again.
Okay, for sake of convenience, that'll speed up the line a little bit. But yeah. I mean, certainly they had to have been jazzed at 7 years old. Yes, once they become 12, preteen, in through their teens, we don't care about that stuff anymore. But don't you worry. Don't you fear. Because after 18 or 19, they're going to go back and say, yeah, we were in a children's book. How about that? And they're going to display it with pride. So you'll probably get more sales from their family. I mean, from their respective family and friends as time goes on. Yeah.
Perhaps, Keys Dan. Yes, sir.
Well, that's my prediction. I'm putting it out into the universe.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Haven Caylor-Brown, man, that's inspiring that you've put stuff to in book form. I've never written a book. I have stories in my head, but I've had the desire to write one of those stories down, but not the time or the force, the driving force of how to write a book. How do you sit down and write a book?
I knew it had, and it was difficult because I wrote it when they were still, transitioning from preschool, kindergarten, and I homeschooled them at that time. And so not only was I, educating them, I was doing the household chores. And I am, like, you talk about diverse, Keys Dan. I've done everything from bass fishing. I can play the French horn. I played that for 7 years. I have been a coon hunter. I speak Spanish. I'm a doctor of education and so much more. But all of it, of course, I was having to take care of a house, take care of a yard, take care of animals. We had 7 dogs and 7 cats at one time, and a chicken.
Yeah.
But and the 2 children. So taking care of all of them was very difficult. But I'm blessed that I only need 6 to 7 hours. I prefer 8. I love 8 hours of sleep, but I can function real well with between 6 and 7 hours of sleep. So I would be up before the day started, like maybe, before dawn. And that was my Haven time. So many times I was up in our bonus room researching, writing, thinking things through, rereading, editing, and that's when I did my writing time.
Oh, well, that's the man. I have a wife that's a stay-at-home mom, and she homeschools herself. And yes, she takes care of the house. And believe me, I go out and I work 2 or 3 jobs, to make sure that ends get met. But I would not want her job because that's the hardest job in the world. So I commend you for being the house husband, the was it the home? What do they call it? A home economic specialist? What is the new term now? The PC term?
I have no idea. I'm out. So I do not know.
House husband.
Husband. But it's perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you feel that the children benefited from having the personalized schooling at home? What are your feelings on homeschool?
We had a hiccup in some in the Caylor-Brown life. We had a hiccup with some just life in general about 4 years ago. So I went back they went to public school for 2 years, and I went back to teaching. And so I taught for 4 years back in public education. And so they know firsthand the difference, and they do appreciate the personalized individual attention, and we can study something. We can take the field trip first, and then we can study about it. We choose what we have guidelines. We try to balance between the guideline state standards of both Tennessee and Georgia, mostly Tennessee, and which are very similar to Georgia. Mm-hmm. And we make sure they are in the curriculum guidelines and they're homeschooling with the state of Tennessee. So we know the 6th grade reading levels and the titles of the books they're supposed to be reading. They're learning some geometry and pre-algebra right now. So it is they do understand and they do appreciate it. Yes.
Oh, and I've been through that area, Chattanooga. Of course, I've been down I-40 on the way back to Florida. When I was courting my wife, she was here in Arkansas, so I would take 40 to 95 or 75. I can't remember exactly, but I remember I took 40 all the way out and through that area of Tennessee. Yeah. Such beautiful land. So I'm guessing you do a lot of nature walks, and you go. A lot of America's oddities and touristy things are in that area. What have you seen? What was the things that they learned and said, "Daddy, take me here. I want to go there."
I think those things for the Southeast Tennessee, they're so kind of immune to it. They are desensitized a little bit to where we live. It's just so beautiful. I spent, for myself, if you go to my blog, I spent about 2 months, thanks to COVID, at home from last March until 2 weeks ago in all of our maple trees, budding to all summer, and then to their changing. We have, I found 5 different species of maple trees. Well, I was trying to share that with them, and they like the colors, but but they weren't as enthralled as I was doing my Montessori, self-learning, teaching. But I think for them, which is a beautiful, I just love this area, North Georgia and Southeast Tennessee. I think the things that they wanted to do, that they have mostly wanted it, is when we go to the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic, they really enjoy the aquariums, seeing the marine life. That is kind of what they gravitate to, because I think they've been a little bit desensitized here in this deciduous part of the United States.
No, I get what you're saying. Haven Caylor-Brown is, I'm from Miami in the Florida Keys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I miss the ocean so much, because here I am, almost dead center in the middle of the country, no ocean, no blue water. My world used to be ocean blue and the smell of salt coming off the breeze, but now I'm green. Everything's green. And I guess it's wherever you live, you want to go visit someplace else. And I'm glad that you are well traveled. You've been to Mexico and Spain and Poland. So, tell me about some of these trips and some of the places that you've been, and the highlights be the tourist guide of Haven Caylor-Brown's life.
Okay, well, I will start with the freshest on our minds, and which they had, they did the, when they were doing their social studies, the 2018-2019 school year, some of their readings, one of the readings, which is a little more advanced, was the Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh.
So that set in motion a whole group of literature and history from 1930s to World War II and to the Holocaust. And Marie Sindler, she is the lady who lived in Warsaw, and I want to call her Marie, but I have to check. Karina Sindler. Please look that up for her. She's the one who helped save 1,000 Polish Jewish children from the ghetto, the Jewish ghetto in Warsaw, Poland, before it was obliterated, before it was burnt down. And she got we read that, watched the movie, we read parts of Anne Frank. That I think they watched parts of the zookeeper's husband, the zookeeper's wife, or a zookeeper's husband. I can't remember. Please apologize. You caught me off guard.
No worries.
They studied all the social studies for almost 6 months. And then we started in Berlin. Wow. That was our hub. We landed in Berlin. We left from Atlanta, New York, Berlin. And when we got to Berlin, we started, of course, with the Berlin Wall. And we flew to Hungary. And we got to stay in the old town of Hungary. And we went up to the Pest Buda Castle. We were in the Pest area, but we'd go over to Buda Castle. Everything that we could look at about Nazi Hungary, we found out that Hungary was the last country that the Nazis took over. Oh. And because they resisted for so long, they were treated brutally. And that, like, I forgot how many hundreds of thousands, millions, over 1 million, I think, maybe Hungarians. And that was at the very end of the war. So from Hungary, we enjoyed some fun stuff too. Just the beauty of taking a night cruise on the Danube was just spectacular. We had seen so many photographs, and we got to take a day cruise and a night cruise. Then we went over to Warsaw, and we stayed in Old Town again. But the first place we went was to the Rising Museum, and very few people, Keys Dan, know that yes, Hitler invaded Poland first, and what had happened is that Poland could take care of itself after World War I. The Polish people in 1920 beat up the Red Army and sent them packing back to St. Petersburg. But world history doesn't teach that hardly at all. Mm-mm. So here they were comfortable, and Germany had lost land from Poland. So Hitler and they were very mad at the Polish people. And Poland had a great roaring 20s in the 1930s. They were very prosperous people. So Hitler invades Germany. Well, yeah, we know the Blitzkrieg, but the story that's not told, Keys Dan, is that they resisted. They almost beat. The Germans had worn out their ammunitions, and the Polish people were ready, willing, and able. Like at the end of September, they were going to do it. They were going to beat and turn back Hitler. But guess who came in on the east?
Who?
The Russians. And that's the reason they obliterated. It looked like a nuclear bomb went off. There's nothing original. There are 2 buildings in Warsaw that are original, and that's it.
See, I had no idea. But I know that the Polish people are strong people, proud people. People are pretty much the same all over the world. They're proud of where they are. They're proud of the dirt that they live on.
Yes. Okay, so then, real quickly, then we went to Gdansk, which has a wonderful World War II museum as well. And then we wound up for a week in Krakow. where we got to go take a tour of Schindler's Museum from Schindler's List. There are only 2 rooms that are still his office, Schindler's office, and the entrance to his office are the only only rooms that look the same. The rest of them is a big museum and a dedication to the Holocaust. We also spent there's an underground salt mine that is like 500 years old, where they have an underground chapel, like a church. They have rooms that the chandeliers are made of salt. The altar in the church is made of salt. It's just phenomenal. And of course, we went to Auschwitz, which was just life-changing.
I thought going to Graceland was the highlight of my life, and you're all over the world, man. You're going to these places. What an education! Not just talking about it, not just reading about it, not just looking at a documentary. Every time you go to the History Channel, oh, Hitler, yeah, that guy was a jerk, but let me watch this story about him, and then you get a little taste of it. But actually going to these places, not only did your children benefit, but I'm sure you and the hubby got a good education of it as well. It benefited just being there and learning and looking at the history and touching what you can actually touch. I'm sure a lot of those things are backed off from the public, but just right. Being there, you had to have felt it deep in your soul.
It is. It is something. Thank goodness, some of it, Keys Dan. It was so quick because you're on a tour. You can go by yourself, but we were on a tour, and some of it moved quite quickly. Yeah. Where thanks be to God, you don't have time to absorb some of it because it is overwhelming. Right. Worse than the ovens to me. There are 3 different parts. There's Auschwitz, the main camp, which was very small. That was a political prison. The first prisoners taken were political prisoners. Ooh. It was not anybody of another faith or anything like that. It was not the Jews. They were political prisoners, people who opposed Adolf Hitler. Some of them even got to go free.
Oh.
Then Keys Dan, it was professors that were against them from the universities in Poland, and clergy, members of whatever, the Lutheran Church, the Catholic Church, whoever was opposed to them, they would stick at Auschwitz. They started taking in so many Jews from around Europe that they had to build Birkenau. And Birkenau was out because if they had any kind of spy planes or anything, the only thing at Birkenau people could see were birch trees. That's what Birkenau means, like the fields of birch. And so people were so busy building things like the salt mine nearby. People were so busy doing things, they thought these were like people going to work camps. But they did not know, the people around there did not understand that it was an extermination camp.
Oh, it only makes sense that Hitler was going after that particular people. He had his own problems with the Jews, but right. That's what you want to take care of is the teachers and the people of faith that are giving the people hope. And that way you take away all their hope and you make yourself the image of hope. And that's what Correct. He did. Oh my goodness, man, you're giving me insight.
If you want, I can tell just a few other places that we have found that, the children cannot remember, but some more places that we were on cruises that are a little bit lighter and more happier.
Okay, we've gone to the dark place. Let's go a little happier.
One of our favorite places, of course, because of our heritage, has been England and Scotland. And so we've spent many times. I started going to London when I was in 1985. I was 19. So just some time in London. The first time Sean and I went to Edinburgh, so special. Seeing Edinburgh Castle up on the extinct volcano is just overwhelming. And it's just like that history that's all there. It was just absolutely, phenomenal. We love the city. It's so beautiful, the city of Oslo, Norway, on the fjords. It is just something to behold as you're coming up into the fjord, like on your ship, your cruise ship, and you port there in Oslo Harbor. And the mountains, absolutely beautiful. My favorite city Still, I went there the first time. The first time I ever traveled, it was on an airplane. I was 18, and my sainted mother, who I still have her, she has a birthday in a week. Let's see, 10 days. She'll be 80 years old.
Happy birthday in a week.
Yeah, I will tell her that. She was a widow. My dad died when I was 16, and I started working when I was 17 and saving money. And she helped me, as my senior trip, she helped pay for half of my trip to Western Europe. That was the year, that March, I fell in love with the city of Lucerne, Switzerland.
Lucerne, Switzerland. Put it in my mind here.
Oh my gosh, it is on a lake, a natural glacier lake, and Pilatus Mountain is right behind it. That is where it is the legend. They have a few facts. I think that's where Pontius Pilate was exiled to after he left Jerusalem. He was exiled to Pilatus, this area of Switzerland that the Romans were controlling. Just beyond Pilatus, up in the mountains, is a place called Engelberg, where one of a famous mountain called Titlis, Titlis. And that whole area, if I could retire somewhere with lots of money, because Switzerland's so expensive, would be Lucerne, Switzerland.
Oh my. Put that on the walking tour. The What Makes You Famous walking tour. Haven Caylor-Brown recommends it highly.
Yeah, Sean and I got a walking tour book. You're some kind of are you some type of a psychic that you read my mind? But yeah, we took a walking tour of Lucerne and I when we were there together, and it was just the beauty. It was March, and down like at Zurich, the flowers were already blooming, the daffodils. But up at Titlis, where we stayed about 2-3 nights, a blizzard came in the middle of March. And the snow skiers on the edges of those alpine steep mountains was just something to behold.
Oh my goodness! Did you take up any of that snow skiing, or was it just a spectator sport?
By the time that Delta had lost our luggage, so they had all of our snow gear, ski gear was not with us. So we had to wait. By the time we got our Delta got our luggage to us, Keysdam, it was too bad. They had closed the slopes, and there was a smaller mountain across called Bruni. They shut down Bruni, which the man who owned the hotel where we stayed said, he goes like, Bruni never closes. And the Titlis they closed it down as well, so we did not get to partake.
And Bruni was closed?
Bruni was closed, yes.
It never closes.
Bruni never closes, yes.
That's fantastic. Oh, man. All right. You are so well traveled. I've never been out of these United States, unless you count the Conch Republic when it seceded from the Union back in, I guess it was 1980. They decided in a drunken stupor, the mayor of Key West said, you know what? We're not getting enough aid from the United States. Let's secede from the Union and apply for foreign aid. That was their idea.
You have taught me, because I did not. How do you the what?
The Conch Republic, Key West.
Okay, that is too.
They seceded from the Union, and I can't remember. It must have been Jimmy Carter. He said, no. It was like two days they seceded from the Union, and they set up a blockade on the road heading towards the Keys. Yeah, it was fun. There's still flags of the Conch Republic, and that's the furthest. Well, I guess I looked at Juarez, Mexico, when I was driving through El Paso. I might have put my finger through the fence. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I've never been to another country, really. And I'm living vicariously through you. I read books, I watch movies, I watch documentaries, but you've actually been there. I can get, your firsthand knowledge gives me the secondhand knowledge, and your face lights up when you talk about the things that you've seen and the places that you've been, and the ability to share that with not only your husband, but also with your kids as well. That's amazing.
And getting to that's one of the things that I wanted to at least just touch on. I mean,
please,
in my book about parenting strategies on the go, even if it was self-publishing, a few of the places we've been, but more so, I mean, and I know it's that just even if it was 2 paragraphs and a few pictures on my blog on havensideals.com, if you up in the search, if you'll just put in like Edinburgh or Dublin or London, or Munich, you can see just a few, just a glimpse of some of the things that we've done as well.
Well, this blog is extensive. I'm looking at it right now. I know that you get it from Haven's Ideals, but I think it's the actual URL is parentingwithpride.net, and that's what I'm looking at right now. But there are articles after articles after articles after articles. You have spent so much time. Go ahead.
That is 9 years worth of blogging. Yes.
But that's amazing, and I know that I just subscribed to your YouTube channel, and there's a little bit there. There's a little tastes of things that of your life and stuff that you've shared visually. But the writing, I couldn't. Could you? I mean, is there any inkling where you want to make an audio form? Because when I say I'm reading books these days. And I have 2 books that I just got from an author that I had on the podcast, Mark Grisham. Yes, the brother of John Grisham.
Okay.
I had him on the podcast just a couple days ago, and then he sent me his books. Now I have to actually read a book. When I say I'm reading a book lately, it's an audio book. So would you put your blog in audio form? Have you ever had that desire, that want?
Sure. If that, yes, I would. If for people just like you, Mr. Keysdan, absolutely.
Well, I mean that's how podcasts start. People will put their thoughts out there to the world, and then there'll be interest that comes in, and then you end up talking to people of similar interest and even unsimilar interest. Fascinating people such as yourself, Haven Caylor-Brown. I had no idea where this conversation was going to go. I mean, if I judged by the 3 different Twitters that I'm looking at and the little blurbs that are out there throughout, if you look at your, I think it was your LinkedIn has a little blurb there, and then your there's a your Parenting with Pride has a bio, little blurb there. And you've been all over this, very, very many places in this planet. But I mean, there's so many avenues to explore. Where do you want to go now, Haven Caylor-Brown? Where do you want to go now? Like Carmen Sandiego.
It's a day by day thing, Keysdan, and I first of all, I would not mind going back. Sean has been doing a wonderful job with homeschooling as well. So if I have to go back into the Spanish classroom, I'd be happy to. A daily thing is, God, where do you want me to be? And if he wants me back in the classroom, then it could be back in the classroom teaching more about Spanish and more about Spanish culture, Hispanic world, the Hispanic culture, Spanish language. That would be wonderful for me. I would love to write. I have been hoping and praying, God, give me the opportunity. If that be a full-time possibility of a full-time job, please allow me to do so. But just, you're going to have to guide me, because I put myself out there. I don't know what the next step is. Of course, traveling, I don't know. There's lots of things that I think I would love to do, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm 54 years old, so it's not like I'm 34 years old or even 44. It's time is limited. It's getting limited. So I want to make the best of it and give glory to Him, no matter what. Whether I'm teaching, writing, I want to give the glory to God.
I'm 51. I'm not looking at my mortality. Now, before I turned 50, I was very timid about telling my age, 49, because I'm an entertainer, and you just kind of, I don't want to grow older. But then by the time I turned 50, and let me tell you, that 50th birthday, I channeled Molly Shannon from SNL and said, I'm 50. I can kick and stretch and kick. I'm
Yes,
50.
yes.
That was
I'm
great.
I'm Sally O'Malley.
Sally O'Malley. Well,
Yes.
I mean, and you're talking about Sean. I think he's a much better person than I am, because if my wife wanted to go off and do something else, there's no way I could homeschool that kid. You know, I'm lost without my wife for sure. You know, and she's growing that baby from the day she was born. As soon as she went on maternity leave, I said, well, just stay on it. She's been on it for 15 years now, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll work twice as hard to try to, you know, keep that going. And she's asked me over the years, hey, do I need to go off and get a job? And no, that your job is take care of that kid and sometimes take care of me too, you know, and I love that. But it sounds like it's good. You have a partner that is helping you through this life. It's nice to have love in the world, and it sounds like you got it, man. And
Yeah.
Sean knows the curriculum, and he knows how to teach the kids.
Correct. Keys, Dan, nothing, as you well know, and as if 6 billion of us don't know this, then there's a big problem. But nothing's ever perfect. But it's a day by day thing, and you trust in each other. You try to work problems out that you have, you know, daily, and it's tough. But like you just said, just having that love and support is priceless.
Oh yeah, and having a little bonus room that you can take some Haven time and do your thing.
Or jog. I love jogging. You know, I'm out in the mornings. I need to upload some of my photos and do it like for a blog. You can read where I was jogging at one of our local parks, and it came a rainstorm. This was last Wednesday. You can read about that, and it was a wonderful experience that I had with being in the Spirit with God. I was all by myself in a rainstorm, and but here, and we have 13 mowed acres. We have about 30 acres in total, but we have 13 mowed acres, and we have a jogging track around. It takes a complete lap is like 10 minutes. So a frosty morning this morning, and you know, in jogging and thought and prayer, and it's so cold. You know, about 15 minutes, got the metabolism up, and I'm taking off my hood and, you know, unzipping my hoodie, and it was just a fabulous time to be thinking and praying and, you know, planning if I am going to write anything, or, you know, just planning the events of the day. It's a wonderful Haven time.
Well, and just looking at the pictures of the mesmerizing maples that you have there, and I'm guessing that's on. Is that on your property? Is that
the pumpkin on the picnic table? Yes, sir. That's our friend. All the trees. That's all of our yard. Yes.
Oh, fantastic, man! It sounds like you're built a good life together, and it just continues. And so you have the two books, and I did look that up. Before we even talked, when I looked up your name, they popped up very easily on Amazon. The Christmas Hawk and the Parenting Strategies on the Go, diverse teaching strategies for parents who want their children to learn.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
No, wait, there's more. To learn no matter where or when. That's a long title. That's a mouthful.
Well, no. Hey, that's a colon after that. Now, the main thing to look for is parenting strategies on the go, right? And that's the main part of the title, parenting strategies on the go.
And this is all self-done. You self-published it was it through Amazon, or how does somebody go about doing that?
I'll have you read. Look at the back. It's circled. I'll have you read it. Go ahead. You see it on the back? It's in that article.
Nope, I can't. It is on there.
Oh, yes.
Wait, is it? Oh, okay, I see. Hold on. Let me see. Parenting on the Go. Oh, yeah, there's no way I could read that blurb. It's too small. But it's
okay.
Big. There's a lot of it.
I will say it, even though I am not happy with them. I'm not going to try to say anything derogatory. His name is Ex Libris, Ex Libris, self-publishing. And I think some of the hardest part was the self-editing. They had some people to help you.
Okay.
You could pay a bit extra for the editing, but they didn't do a lot of formatting for it. Of course, every extra thing you wanted to do, Keys Dan, was extra money.
Yeah.
So I set a budget for both of the books, and I stayed within my budget. You just turn in everything, and before you turn in everything, you check everything. Of course, I'm a great grammarian. I'm wonderful with syntax, subject, verb agreement. I have a doctorate in education. I wrote a doctoral dissertation, so I know how to do all that. But still, you still miss things. There's the other person. Carter, Ammon, and I are in another book by a professional. Professional authors, and they are. It's Marianne Carench and what is the dude's name? Something Pyle. Well, they wrote a book, Find Out Anything from Anyone, Anytime, by a traditional publisher. It was on the bestsellers list. It was like number 100 or something. I mean, it was really up there. Ammon Carter and I did an interview with us, and she used me as an expert in questioning children. Okay, so she sent as a gift, for the interview, she sent us 2 copies of the book, one for Carter, one for Ammon. Well, these are top authors, Keys Dan, and I started reading, and I found like 4 or 5 errors in their stuff, and they have professional editors and professional publishing.
Yeah.
So you put it, and they'll give you, like Ex Libris gave me 1 complete editing. That was it. If I found anything else, I was going to have to pay extra. Of course, no photos. In my parenting strategies book, there were no photos. That would have been extra. It was a little different format for Christmas Hawk because it was a picture book, so it was a little. They had different genres, and sometimes you pay differently for the different genre. Like just for a narrative was a little different. I had planned 0 photos, which I wish I could. This wasn't in the budget, but this was all photo, and so it was a little different because it was a picture book. And then I had 1 edit of Christmas Hawk as well, where wasn't covered yet. So I had to do some editing, and there was one thing that I tried to match up everything evenly with Ammon and Carter, and they had a page where I couldn't identify Carter and the neighbor boy, and because I couldn't identify them, Ammon got 1 more picture, unfortunately, that Carter, and I felt bad because I wanted it to all be even. But I couldn't identify them on a black and white. They would not release it to me for editing in color.
Well,
so certain regulations. But with Christmas Hawk, I published first, Keys Dan, and that, oh my gosh, when they just sent me the black and white version, I was like, they sent it to. I was driving. Yep. I was driving to. I shouldn't have been looking at it.
Right.
Driving to see my niece, who was at the time living near Charleston, South Carolina, and I was on the interstate, and I was just trying. I started crying because I was like, I wrote that, and I chose the illustrator. I chose somebody I entrusted somebody who remained anonymous. I don't know what happened. I do not have the name of this illustrator, but there was my work that my children and I had put in print, and there were these beautiful, even though they were just drawn then, they weren't in color, these wonderful illustrations that was going into a book about us. I think the feelings are more phenomenal than that process.
Oh, so, how personal is that? And what a good daddy that you want to make sure that both children have the same amount. I know I grew up with my little brother, and our parents were always, all right, you get an ice cream, you get an ice cream, you get a pencil, right. You get a pencil. You want to be even with the kids. You don't want to make them feel, but I'm
yes.
sure they understand. Eventually they will understand, even if they didn't before. Did it ever become an issue by any chance?
Not so far. Thank you. No, yeah.
Well, good. And now that you've put it on record, for sure they'll know, hey, you meant to keep them even because you love them both equally.
Correct.
Which one's your favorite? I'm just kidding.
Well, Ammon's my favorite daughter, and Carter's my favorite son.
Well done. Well
Thank you.
played, sir. Well played. All right. So, what other avenues do you want to explore? I mean, you're an educator. You're an author. Are you still playing? What is it? The French horn? Are you still playing?
I practiced just a little bit. It was something that it was not a natural gift. I learned it all very nicely. I was all district. Never could quite. I was living in Georgia. Never quite could make all state band, but I was very good. I just did not want to make it into a profession. And my band directors in high school, and I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but they begged me to try to get a music scholarship for college. And I probably should have, but because that would have paid for everything. But stubborn me, I just said I cannot do that. It's not a gift. I don't enjoy it enough, and I don't think I'm going to make a career out of playing the French horn.
Well, all
So
right.
I did not. I play it every once in a while, and I really enjoy it, but it's really an effort. I wish it was more, like I said, a gift where it just came natural, but it's not.
Well, okay, but you still have it in your back pocket if it ever came up. You have that. So, would you consider yourself, I guess, the band geek? Was that your forte in school? Was that your area of expertise, the band, or did you have other
My
avenues?
friends were. Yes, that was my area of expertise. I was good at everything. I was good at everything. My the one what gave me the most difficulties was mathematics. I made it. I did trigonometry. Went to college. I was not going to be a math major. My counselor told me you need to be taking calculus, and I said, "No, sir. That is not. I have an education major. I will not be taking calculus. That is not going to even try to mess up my GPA." Excuse me. So that math, which is a strange thing, real quick. I mean, 30 seconds, which is strange, Keys Dan, because I'm good at math,
Uh-huh.
but foreign language, and math, logical mathematical, because so much grammar and syntax in a language is logical mathematical. They're on the same side of the brain, and so I kept thinking this foreign language will help my math, but it didn't.
Well, all right, man. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own area of expertise. I went to a what was it? Some chemistry class. I thought it was 101 down in Miami, Florida, and the first day and it was between Dr. Hernan. I'm throwing him under the bus. He had an accent. It wasn't English. It wasn't Spanish. I couldn't understand his accent, and he would say a certain thing about what was going on the board. Any questions? I'm the only one out of 30 people that is raising my hand. I had no idea what he was talking about. So yeah, that wasn't my area of expertise, that particular subject. So yeah, we all find our niches, and you found yours. You're educator, English for sure, creative writing for sure, finding things in the world that inspire you to write books. This is what's on the horizon for Haven Caylor-Brown. What's next? Are you doing anything currently?
Just just homeschooling, just with blogging. I'm more, I have a better, because I am at home this year with my children again, doing homeschooling. I have a better, in Spanish, it's called a pauta. It's like your rhythm, like a pace. That's the word. That's the translate a pauta, which is your pace. And
I'm Cuban. I don't know that word.
Really? Yeah. I got to teach. I had the wonderful opportunity to teach with some wonderful professors. We had an exchange program with. I did not go to Monterrey, Mexico, but some ladies came to where I was teaching, and it was a wonderful experience because we would sit down on our planning periods or during lunch. I was teaching ESOL at the time. And they would come to my room, and they would interact with me, and sometimes they would come in and just talk to my students with me in there, and we all learned from each other because of course they were learning English and Southern culture in North Georgia, and I was learning from them. And some of my students weren't from that area. They were from like Zacatecas. They were from not Tamaulipas, but Guanajuato, and they were unfamiliar with Monterrey. So we all learned from each other. Even the students taught us, some colloquial things that from their area of Mexico. So yeah, that pauta, it's a pace. And so I'm in a pauta right now where I can blog more. I love it. It's there's been less saving money since I have been working this school year, but the other things, the family, being with family and writing, it's much more valuable.
Oh, the benefits of living simply. And with this COVID thing that we're going through now, shoot, everybody's going through their savings. A lot of people are out of work. And I know with my DJ jobs for about 2 months, I didn't have any DJ jobs. And that's my extra cheese, and so that sandwich went dry. So I understand going through the savings.
No mayonnaise on that cheese sandwich.
Nope. No, and I'm thinking of you teaching English as a second language in school down in Monterey, and for some reason Harold Ramis in Stripes came into my head when he was teaching those people. And does anybody know a little English? Does anybody? And then he ended up teaching them. There she was, just a walking down the street, and all the people responded, "Do I diddy diddy dum diddy dee." I don't know if you remember that movie Stripes.
No, it wasn't that type of comedy for me. I was, but no, that was the last thing. That was the last mental word that I gave you was Monterrey. I was teaching in a city called Tisimin, which is west. But Tisimin is in the Yucatan.
Yeah.
And it is halfway between Mérida, which is the capital of the Yucatan, which I love Mérida, and Cancun, which is in Quintana Roo, the state of Quintana Roo. So, but Tisimin is where I got to teach in Conalep.
Well, you're giving me a geography lesson. The thing I know about Monterey, I think it's an industrial town.
I've never been there, but yes, I've heard a lot about it.
I had learning on this podcast is what happens. Is I had a lady who's from Monterey, and she told me that her dad, he fixed tractor trailers like for cross country trucks, and it's a very industrial town. So that's why I know.
Yeah,
never been there.
Now, another thing that I think I may not be the most famous for, I really can't say, but I think, speaking of the Yucatan, you've heard of Chichen Itza, right?
Nope, just did.
Well, it's where, twice a year, it's east of Valladolid in the Yucatan, and twice a year, when you hear this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Twice a year at the spring equinox and the autumn equinox, the Mayas built the castillo, the pyramid, where the winged serpent Kukulkan of the Maya winged serpent god makes the shadow. There are two of them on the edges of the main steps of the castillo. Does that sound familiar to you?
Sounds like Indiana Jones. But you know what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be listening to this podcast over again, pausing, looking up, pausing, looking up. You're giving me a geography lesson. You're giving me lessons. And that's what an instructor does. That's what an educator does. I'm learning from you. Whether anybody else listens and learns from you, which I hope they do, but I'm sure they're going to look up your name, Haven Caylor-Brown, and find out more.
Okay, so not at Chichen Itza, which is it's international, because I went there. Both times that I was there, we ran into people from China, people from Europe, so it's world renowned. When you see some pictures of it, you'll think, oh, yeah, I know Chichen Itza. Well, there's a place that was like its cousin. It was like city-states. So sometimes they would be at war with each other. Sometimes they would be at peace with each other. I lived near an ancient site called Ekbalam. And Ekbalam, for hundreds of years, was covered in vegetation. In 1994, it was still covered. They had unearthed a few of the buildings, but they had not unearthed the two pyramids. By the time I went back, like in 2001, they had excavated the main temple at Ekbalam, which had just been it's just a hill with trees on it, but it was indeed a pyramid. Just a few, like a mile or two from Ekbalam, which means the star of the jaguar, the star of the jaguar, is Balam, which means house of the jaguar. And I had friends that lived there. Well, I think that I was the first gringo to ever swim in the cenote of Nabalam. So I think it's another thing that I'm famous for, but I'm not too sure.
You're about to get a fedora and a bullwhip, and yeah.
Right,
Indiana Jones is look out, here comes Haven Caylor-Brown. I can see it, man, and just being in that part of the world. The Mayan pyramids are so fascinating, amazing. How do pyramids get built with this type of structure, and then all the way across the world in Egypt there's the similar kind of structure? All these pyramids are built. I guess we can go aliens on that one. Did they build them? People that didn't even know each other are building similar structures that are facing, the same parts of the sun, because the sun has to go over this. And, how do people in different parts of the world, did they know each other?
It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. And you're unlocking these mysteries, man. Just traveling and looking at these things, it's got to be fascinating. I mean, reading about them and seeing them in movies is one thing, but actually living right next to this thing that just got uncovered, and you're the first gringo swimming in the water. I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say yeah. You were the guy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Haven Caylor-Brown. I mean, how do you want people to connect with you? Find you online? What do you want from the fans, from the people?
That would be awesome. It would be yes, on my favorite one, the one where I feel more connected with the world, is my on Twitter at Caylor Professor. And
got it.
I think that's the actual ampersand at Caylor Professor.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I think I'm Professor Caylor. That's the title, but the ampersand is Caylor. There would be wonderful. I do not have many followers there, and that's quite all right.
You got one more today.
Well, thank you much, sir. I do enjoy. It's hard. WordPress is an older site. Is an older blogging site. But that's where all my photos and all my blogs are. So I have, as of right now, and they try to keep up with the times. And I think they're going to make it, but I think there's some other Wix and some other things that might be a little easier to become a follower. But you have to become a member of WordPress to actually follow my stuff. But you can like it. You can like it and send comments, I think, but it's really hard. But to enjoy it, and then you can send me, you can send me a tweet, or I have I think my Gmail is on there on my about. I wasn't expecting really to talk much about my blog, but I think I give a Gmail account to get a hold of me if someone would like to write to me.
Well, the links that I'll put in the show notes, I have the YouTube, I have the Twitter, I even have the LinkedIn, and I have your website, of course. I'll put that in the show notes to make sure that people know how to find the famous and soon to be even more famous Haven Caylor-Brown. Any other avenues you want to explore, you want to talk about as we wind this thing down?
No, not really. I did not, a few things. I not knowing, getting connected with you through, with, an up and coming country music star, Hunter Lott from Mississippi, who is now playing, several times a month at the Commodore Grill. And this is a a push for him. Wonderful young man, wonderful singer, wonderful human being. That is how I got in contact with you. And I have not, this is, please don't take this personally, Keys Dan, but I didn't even, when I flipped over the calendar, 2 weeks ago, flipped over the calendar. Oh yeah, I have an interview with this dude I know nothing about on the 17th of November. Because all those months, he was like, I knew how busy you were going to be. Like since June, when I made this appointment, I kind of forgot.
That's fine.
And I was like getting in touch with you on this Skype thing. I was like, oh yeah, I got to get my Skype up and going again. And like to practice, I didn't want to practice this with you.
Oh.
The interview. I wanted to practice using my Skype because it's so long since I used it. So you are so kind. You're so engaging. You are a blessing to your wife and children. And just thank you for what you do for us ordinary people to help us get out there and encourage us. I would love to blog about you and try to promote you more if you would let me. Because you're so kind, and I would like to reciprocate.
Well, that's entirely up to you. But I like having conversation with people, and everyone has a story. I know you have a story.
You are one of your gifts, Mr. Keys Dan, is interpersonal skills, and you have been kind. You have uplifted me. You have punched my buttons to make me tell about my gifts, and that's one of your gifts.
Well, good. That's what I want, and I hope to do many, many more of these, and I hope that this helps to sell some books and get people interested in your blog for that matter, and interested in you, and you're going to be teaching people in turn. Well, usually I finish these things off with last words for the people, and that could be something that words to live by, something you heard a long time ago. Maybe your mama who's having a birthday in 10 days, maybe something that she said, or it could just be whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Haven Caylor-Brown, last words for the people.
Well, just like what I told you just about yourself, Keys Dan, the golden rule from Jesus the Christ, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That no matter whether it's your spouse, your children, try to remember what it's like to be a child when you're raising your children. You treat them the way you want to be. Somebody at work, it could be your boss who's not being nice to you. It could be a colleague that you work with that's not being very kind to you. It could be even someone, unfortunately, that you worship with, not being very kind to you, but treat other people the way you want to be treated. That's my main mantra. It's, there's no reason to not be kind and treat other people the way you want to be treated. There's no reason not to. So that's kind of my part of it. And happy Thanksgiving, you people in the United States. I don't know if anybody around the world listens to your podcast, but have a blessed Thanksgiving and coming up, and just have the most blessed Christmas season ever. Peace on earth.
Well, there you have it, party people. Haven Caylor-Brown. You just don't know. You just don't know the stories that people are going to tell. Yes, you can look at their social media. Yes, you can look at their Twitter feeds. You can look at their LinkedIn. You can look at their website even, and you'll get a little taste, a little idea, maybe a little blurb of who people are. But until you talk to them, until you have a conversation, you're not going to know that this man has been all over the planet, or at least all over Europe and all over Central America. He's and not just been there, but learned from people and taught people, so yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Once you learn something, you teach somebody else. I know that I've learned a few things in life, and when somebody asks me, hey, how do you DJ? How do you set up a broadcast equipment for a blog? How do you, or for a podcast? How do you make things sound right? I'll tell you. I will teach you. I got nothing to hide. I'll let you know what microphones to use. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be, once you learn something, you teach the next generation. We're not going to be here forever. They have to learn. So that way it carries on. And then, of course, they're going to innovate. They're going to get together with other people and they're going to teach and evolve. That's how innovation happens, is you get together and you learn from people. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, or the shoulders of giants. I guess that was the saying, right? We're standing on the shoulders of giants. I'm not looking anything up. This is all coming off the dome. So good talking to Haven Caylor-Brown. Man, you got a good life, and you're giving your kids and your husband a great life as well. And I'm so excited to hear more and to keep following and to learn more about you as time progresses. Yeah, this life's not over. No way. I'm 51. We got plenty of time left. All right, then. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. If you, yes, you would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.